At the recent Microsoft Azure conference, I attended 3 talks that tried to describe how some companies are reorganizing themselves to maximize the ability of their teams to contribute to the company's innovation. The idea starts by looking at the structure of the company. Here is a traditional organizational structure, the kind we've had for thousands of years. People at the top delegate tasks down through a middle management layer to doers at the bottom of the pyramid. The people at the top have to have a big picture of what's going on. They break this picture up down to the middle managers who break it up further, and the doers at the bottom of the pyramid have a much smaller idea of what is going on. But the change is to move to a servant leadership model. In a servant leadership model, the leaders of the company support the doers, who are then seen to be at the top of the company, and we have fewer layers in between the leaders and the doers, so that the doers are closer to the big picture. They have a better idea of the company's vision. We can redraw this diagram now. So at the top of the diagram we have the vision, and at the bottom of the diagram we have the leader. The vision is supplied by the leader who supports the teams. The teams in the middle of the diagram are self-organizing, continuously improving groups who have lots of ideas about how to achieve that vision. Let's look at the leadership and the vision. The leader supplies 3 key ingredients. The first is the vision. It's not enough just to have a vague idea. The vision is a structured thing. Here's an example from Atlassian. There's a vision which is 2 years out. Then their focus areas, which represent about 6 months to a year. And then their OKRs, which are about 3 months' work. An OKR stands for an objective and a key result, what to achieve and how to be measured. Measurement's incredibly important, so we need to keep measuring the vision to see if we are steering the company in the right direction. Continuous measurement is how this is done against those key results, and using objective measurements like product metrics, customer metrics like net promoter scores, and profit and revenue of the business itself. The next thing that the leader provides is motivation. Motivation is a complex area, of course, but here's one model. So we can think about motivation as being either transactional or transformational, or we can speak about transactional leaders and transformational leaders and how they do their motivation. Transactional motivation is typically a negotiated exchange of value, or most likely a salary, whereas transformational talks about a reciprocal exchange of value, like having an amazing place to work or an inspirational leader. Transactional motivation is short-lived or contractual, whereas transformational tends to be long-lived. Transactional motivation is highly structured, whereas transformational is dynamic. But 80% of people do work in transactional situations. It's great for getting things done, and transformational requires charismatic leaders, and it's really good for innovation. But the really important thing is that you need to pick a style that works for you, your team, and your company, and it's pretty good to have a mix as well. The final ingredient that the leader brings is just enough structure to enable self-organizing teams to really thrive. So we're going to go back to those self-organizing teams now. We're going to focus in on just one team and what structure it needs to be great. And there's a reason why I'm talking about teams, not individuals. When we look back through history at great lone genius individuals like Thomas Edison or Henry Ford or Elon Musk or Steve Jobs, it always turns out that that lone genius had a great big team around them. So we want to focus on high-performing teams and not look for unicorn developers or rock star engineers. So here's a high-performing team. They're full of ideas. What structures do they need to perform at their best? They're a continuous improving self-organizing team, and to continuously improve, they need to have feedback and they need to have great communication. And that means they need something called psychological safety. The whole team needs to feel that they are operating in an environment of high trust. Google did some research and they were looking for what thing made their teams the best. It wasn't academic ability, it wasn't how good their processes were. The main indicator of team success was how psychologically safe that team was. To build psychological safety, the team needs trust, and that trust leads to reciprocity, the feeling that if I help you, you'll help me, and if I say something, you won't say something nasty back. The management team can help with this by having openness and transparency. Openness means making your values and processes open, maybe even publishing them on the open internet like some companies do, and transparency means being clear about what you're doing. Oh, and the teams need some time to get to know each other. Maybe some coffee and cake might help. Team structure is also really, really important. Teams need to be diverse so that when they're having conversations, there are multiple opinions and they don't get into groupthink. They also need to be cross-functional so they don't have dependencies with other teams. And the environment that the teams work in needs to be supportive. It needs to be welcoming for new people. It needs to be easy to self-manage and get self-service for the things you need. And you need great tools. When you have all of this, the team is free to self-organize, continuously improve, and innovate. Let's just recap. So, rather than a hierarchy, we have a servant leadership. At the bottom, we have the servant leader who supplies the vision and just enough structure for the teams to get going and motivates them. And in the middle, we have self-organizing teams who are bringing their brains to work and innovating for the company. So that just leads me to say thanks for listening.